They assume that she's just checked into another hotel, but the truth was that she was hiring cars and just sleeping in them because she'd essentially been blacklisted from all the hotels in New York City.
How the mighty have fallen.
So she can't charge anything to her room anymore. So she's just eating at restaurants and just leaving without paying the bill. And this ends up catching up with her because eventually, a few days later, after her little intervention, she's arrested for trying to run out on paying a restaurant bill. Like, bitch, just go to Taco Bell. You don't have to go to a fancy restaurant.
I bet that doesn't even, cross her mind. I reckon she always...
It should. Bitch, you're broke. Welcome to the Compendium, an assembly of fascinating and intriguing things. We're a weekly variety podcast where each week I tell Adam Cox all about a topic I think he'll find both fascinating and intriguing. We dive into stories pulled from the darker corners of true crime, the annals of your old unread history books, and the who's who of extraordinary people. We give you just enough information to stand your ground at any social gathering. Of course, I'm your host this week, Kyle Risi.
And I'm your co-host, Adam Cox.
And on today's episode of the Compendium, we are diving into an assembly of illusions, indulgences, and the incredible saga of a swindler in the city.
It's Anna Delvey.
It's Anna Delvey week, baby!
Yeah, well, you gave the clue last week, so this week I definitely know what we're talking about.
That's true, and I'm so excited about today's episode because last week, of course, we gave you the rundown of the original queen of the scam.
Cassie Chadwick.
She was, of course, a woman from the 1800s who managed to dupe a bunch of rich bankers across Cleveland into handing over millions of dollars in loans. And the reason why they did this was because, of course, they believed that she was the daughter of Andrew Carnegie, one of the richest men in the world at the time. So last week's story laid the groundwork for the start of today's episode because Cassie Chadwick was the woman who ran so that today's fierce female con artist could walk. Today I'm giving you the compendium of the fake German heiress, Anna Delvey, a girl who managed to trick everyone into believing that she was the heiress to a massive $80 million fortune. As a result, she was living out of some of the world's most exclusive hotels, eating at the best restaurants, socializing with the richest people, all while actually having no money to her name whatsoever. A bit like us. Basically. Her lies were so convincing, Adam, that she came incredibly close to a bank actually giving her $25 million in terms of loans before the entire scam came tumbling down around her. And remember, we talked about how easy it was in Cassie's day for a bank to just dole you out some money. This is a time now when there are checks, there are balances, there's CCTV, there's audit trails, there's bank accounts, there's everything.
So what you're saying is don't be put off. We can possibly make it work.
We can still do this. It's still possible. If Cassie Chadwick could do it all the way back then, and if Anna Delvey can take inspiration from that, then why can't we do it today?
Great. So this should be an inspiring story.
It should be. It's an inspiring story for anyone out there who wants to be a bit of a little toe rag con artist.
Yeah, and a few do's and don'ts along the way.
It's a playbook of how to be a con artist. But the thing is that even though Anna got busted, she is completely unapologetic. And I think that's something that has to be admired. Because what she did to many was the most American thing that anyone could possibly do. It's all about you walk the walk, you talk the talk, and you do whatever it takes to make it. So today's story calls into question that fine line between scamming people and faking it until you make it. This is the story of Anna Delvey and her huge set of giant bollocks.
Metaphorical bollocks, I assume.
I hope so. So what do you know about the story, Adam?
My main understanding comes from the TV show. So who knows if some of it's been fabricated. Mm-hmm. But what's it called, Anna Delvey?
Inventing Anna.
Inventing Anna, which starred, what's her name from Ozarks?
Julia Garner.
Yes, and she does an incredible job of playing her because I think her accent, she has this really unique way of pronunciation, which you can't really tell where she's from because you sent German Heiress. And I was like, she was German?
Yes. This is the thing, though, when an actress is so good and they get really into the part and they're a proper method actor and they delve into the actual details and they get it spot on because the character is so nuanced, it makes it come across as if Julie Garner has done a bad job because, like, who speaks like that? But she actually spoke like that.
Yeah.
She did an amazing job.
It's almost like larger than life or a bit of a caricature, but that is how she spoke in her interviews, isn't it?
That's it. It's so crazy.
Yeah.
And in terms of like how much of the story was fabricated, well, Shonda Rhimes, of the woman that produced Inventing Anna, got their first account stories from a couple of the people that were directly involved in Anna's life.
He's one of her friends, right?
Yeah, that's right. So both of them went off. They wrote a kind of a memoir. One of them was Rebecca, who ended up losing like $60,000. And the other friend, the concierge who was working in the hotel, she wrote an article. And that then inspired Shonda Rhimes to make a TV show out of that.
Okay.
So it's first-hand kind of account of the story. So it's really exciting.
Cool. I'm excited to revisit this because it's been a while and it is such a good story.
It is the best story. But before we get started, of course, it is time for...
all the latest things.
This is the segment of our show where we catch up on all the latest things that we discovered over the last 7 days, from weird news to mind-boggling facts. This week, it's Adam's turn to go first. So here we go. What have you got for us today, Adam?
So I've got 2 bits of news this week, and they're both animal related, actually. So my first bit is actually an update from a story I broke.
Yeah, breaking news. Brand new information.
Well, yeah, I can't remember what episode it was, but it was about, do you remember the alligator who was denied entry into a baseball game?
Wally? Yeah,
Wally.
what's happened to Wally? How's he getting on?
Wally, the emotional support animal.
That's it, yeah.
Well, he's missing.
What do you mean?
Well, his owner, who needs him for emotional support, has reported that he's gone missing when they're on vacation in Georgia. So
a wild animal has gone missing.
So yeah, it literally takes him everywhere. And he was behind, I think, a pretty significant outdoor enclosure wherever they were vacationing. And someone must have like broken in and stolen Wally. And so the owners pleaded, let anyone know where he is because there could be an alligator.
Is there a reward for him?
I don't think so at this stage.
Man, do you know what? At the same time, he is an alligator. He is a wild animal. What comes to mind is that meme video of that woman who is showing off. She finds a wild duck and she's like, this is my pet duck, Adam. And he's going for his first swim. And she puts him in the water and then he just like pisses off like as fast as he possibly can. And she's like, Adam! It's a wild animal. Wally has done the same. He has been put down as, okay, this is my time to escape. And he's pissed off.
Maybe that's it. Maybe it's just like, that's it. I've got a way out. It's his own sort of Shawshank Redemption where he's tunneled his way out of this enclosure.
Is he Morgan Freeman in this?
Oh. So yeah, but if you're in Georgia, then just keep on the lookout.
So that's a shame.
Yeah.
You need to keep us updated.
We'll do. So if there's any more news I find on Wally, I will keep our listeners updated because everyone's, grown attached to him.
Yeah. I need him for emotional support. What else you got for us?
Well, the next bit is more positive news. It's about an orangutan. A Sumatran orangutan?
A Sumatran.
Oh, yeah, sure, that. I don't know. But some scientists have observed that this particular orangutan had been self-medicating with these leaves. And I think it's the first time that an animal has ever been seen in the wild giving them treatment for a condition they have.
So not drug taking.
Not drug taking.
Oh, I'm a bit sick.
Yeah.
It's not like, I want to get a bit high.
Well, what happened was these humans or scientists, they had noticed a gash on the orangutan's face, probably from some fight. Uh-huh. And within a couple of days, they had seen the same orangutan getting this particular leaf, whatever, which they know has medicinal purposes.
Sure.
And was chewing these leaves, but wasn't swallowing them. It was chewing them and getting the sap or the juice out of it and then rubbing it on his wound.
That's a whole new level.
Yeah.
Chewing on them, fine.
Yeah.
But actually wiping it on it.
Yeah, so he didn't swallow it. He was wiping it. And then within a couple of days, it healed just to a small scar. And so it it made them think that must be something that they have understood or learned all this time.
Yeah.
They know how to treat these kind of conditions. An orangutan.
Yeah, that's really cool, actually.
Yeah.
How do we know, because primates are really vain animals, how do we know it wasn't just making a face mask? Like, do you know
What a beauty treatment.
Kids are away with their dad this week. Mama's going to have a bit of swamp water, and she's going to put on a face mask.
It's a good question. I don't know if we'll ever truly know that, but I think it's the first time that they know that particular plant definitely has this healing property.
Yeah.
So they just, from that, they think, well, it must be intelligent enough to know what to do.
It's crazy, isn't it? I am so fascinated by the great apes and primates and things like that. They're just so incredible. And their potential is there as well to learn so many weird things. I did hear this really incredible fact the other day that if you give an orangutan a iPad, it will interact with it. And so will a lot of other primates. But give a iPad to a gorilla and it will have no interest.
Interesting.
Isn't that strange?
Yeah. So only certain primates will react with that or know what to do.
Yeah.
Intelligence, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is, though, gorillas are also quite intelligent in their own right, because there's that really famous gorilla that they learned how to sign language. And they actually gave this gorilla, who was like living in captivity, I think her name was Coco. They gave her a kitten and she loved this kitten so much. And I believe she broke the sink in her room one day and using sign language, she blamed the kitten. I doubt that cat's broken that sink.
Yeah.
Oh,
that's pretty impressive. Yeah.
Cool. So, all the latest things for this week. So, do you know, whenever time we're out and about and we pass this one store, I always lose my mind because I just find it so insufferable. What's that store?
Oh, God. Oh, what was it? We were in London and you said about it. Was that sports brand, isn't it? Lululemon.
Lululemon.
Yeah.
And it's just because it's so expensive. And I don't want to walk down the street and see a woman wearing leggings with it literally, her bum cheeks are cut in half. It's literally in there. She's wearing a legging thong, basically.
I don't think it's exclusive to Lululemons, but why have you got this hate for Lululemon in particular?
It's just because it just keeps popping up and it just seems insufferable and it's very expensive. And there are people starving out there in the world. But anyway, forget it.
Forget about those starving people.
Why do you think it's called Lululemon?
I have no idea.
Racism.
Yeah. How did that even come about?
So the name Lululemon was chosen by the company founder Chip Wilson. Primarily, it was so it could appeal to the Japanese consumers. Japanese consumers are attracted to any Western brand names with the letter L in it. To them, it's iconically Western to have the kind of the alliteration of the L's in there because it's famously a syllable that Asian cultures can't really pronounce.
Oh, interesting.
So Wilson deliberately said that he played with the alliteration names with the L's in them until he obviously came up with Lululemon, believing it would sound more authentically North American. But in interviews, he openly admitted that he chose the name Lululemon because it's funny to watch them try and say it, referring to the difficulty Japanese people have pronouncing the letter L.
That's horrendous.
That is horrendous, isn't it? So that's another black mark against Lululemon for me.
Yeah, to be fair, now I'm going to jump on that bandwagon. Before I thought it was just overpriced, but that's terrible.
Yeah, bloody hell. And the thing is, though, it's super successful in Japan, and he's making millions and millions of dollars off of this brand.
Yeah.
But the undertone is that he is a racist piece of shit, and he set it up deliberately because it sounded funny.
Yeah. Do the Japanese know this, do you reckon?
Well, they do now.
What publication reported this?
I got it from a TikTok somewhere, so obviously it's real.
Well, fact-checked.
Talking about like TikTok, in 9 months' time, the owners of TikTok, they have to find an American buyer by law. Otherwise, that's it. Google and Apple are going to be compelled by law to ban it from the app stores.
In America, though. It's only in North America, right?
I wouldn't be surprised if it then also filters to some of the other European countries. Certainly in the UK, might be the same thing. And the reason why this is happening is because the Chinese government has a tendency to influence Chinese companies. And this isn't some kind of conspiracy theory. This has been known to happen. Like the government will get involved in various businesses if it benefits him in some way. So the thinking here is that TikTok, a place where millions of young Americans get their news from, could potentially be quietly influenced by China to show versions of the world that the Chinese government want young Americans to see. And so to America, this is worrisome. As a result, Congress and the president have passed into law that the platform needs to find an American buyer within 9 months, otherwise face being banned.
But that seems just so corrupt in the sense of doing that, like, it has to be an American buyer, which doesn't, it's kind of like, well, how is that better?
Just as bad as the CCP, isn't it?
Yeah, how do we know that your American government isn't going to influence things?
Exactly. Totally,
we need someone need some penguins in Antarctica running the show.
Yeah, probably. Wise move. You should be in politics.
They're really neutral.
They're unoffensive. They're not racist.
They just want some fish.
Yeah. They're black and they're white. You know? Yeah.
There we go.
Perfect. So that's all my latest things this week.
Cool.
Hey, it's Kyle here. I've got a quick favour to ask you. If you enjoy listening to the Compendium podcast, there is one simple way that you can help show your support. Just hit that follow button in the app that you're listening to us through right now. This year, we're putting everything into making the Compendium better for you. And the only thing we'll ever ask you to do is to hit that follow button or leave us a review. It really helps our show more than we can probably articulate, and is the one thing that you can do to help us spend even more time with you guys. We really appreciate it. Now, let's get back to the show. So Anna Delvey, she was born Anna Sorokin in Russia in 1991.
Oh, she was Russian?
Yeah, she's a Russian chick, man. So she came from a lower middle class family. Her father was a truck driver and her mother was just a humble housewife. When Anna was 16, her family moved to Germany after her dad landed a brand new job. And very quickly, they started raking in some significant money. Not millions of dollars, but enough to free them from the financial burdens that they faced while they were living in Russia. Now, Anna graduated high school and she got into Central St. Martin's Art School in London, which is quite a prestigious school that's kind of over the years has produced some real seriously talented people. For example, John Galliano, Alexander McQueen, Lucian Freud, Stella McCartney. They produce these really high profile, really successful fashion designers. So with her family now doing very well, her dad agreed that he was going to actually support her living expenses while she was living in London attending the school. However, shortly after starting her first semester, Anna decides that that's not for her and she decides to drop out. When Anna's parents discover that she's left St. Martin's, they understandably are upset, but they agree that they're going to support her while she figures out what her next steps are going to be. Now, Anna doesn't see the point of spending 3 years struggling as a student to possibly land a job in the arts because it's notoriously difficult to get into that industry. So Anna decides that she is going to apply for an internship at a very prestigious magazine called Purple Magazine in Paris. Have you heard of them before?
No, I don't think I have.
So they're a renowned arts and lifestyle magazine, and it's here that Anna sees that opportunity to kind of get ahead. She gets a glimpse into the high society kind of world. Just imagine Purple Magazine is a hipster version of Vogue. So it's slightly smaller scale, but it's really uber cool.
So she's done a good job to get this internship then?
Yeah, so she did identify that was her window in to start rubbing shoulders with some of the most influential people in the arts world for her to be able to get ahead. She just needed to be in the peripheral of these people in order to make it, because then she could use them to her advantage, basically.
Smart.
So at Purple Magazine, Anna feels that she needs to reshape her image and her identity in order to fit in. So she changes her name from Anna Sorokin to Anna Delvey. And this is where her character begins to emerge. And she begins telling people that, of course, she is from Germany, despite her not so fluent German accent.
It's just, it's like somewhere in Eastern Europe.
People immediately say that she has this real talent for figuring out who the most influential person is in any room and zeroing in on them. And she has this heightened sense of confidence that she just doesn't waste any time on a nobody. Often, she uses the fact that she works at Purple Magazine to her advantage by dropping the magazine's name everywhere, because she obviously quickly learns that it comes with kind of some clout. So with that, she gains access to the most exclusive events around Paris. And so in 2013, at 22, she gets the chance to cover New York Fashion Week on behalf of Purple Magazine, which means that she's going to the Big Apple.
Wow.
And while she's there, she ensures that she's just photographed everywhere.
So like famous people having their photo taken on some red carpet or whatever, and she's just edging her way in, going, oh, in the background.
And apparently she does this in the most confident way possible. Like, she just walks over really confident as if, my friends are over there. They're getting their pictures taken. And she'll kind of muscle her way in. And she's pretty much been photographed alongside all of these New York high society socialites.
No way.
And she just blends in. So as a newcomer to the city, she's mingling with socialites, which is obviously not an easy feat considering how kind of cliquey high society can be. But the thing is, though, as she starts hanging around with these people in these kind of high society circles, nobody within these circles really knows who she is or where she's come from. She just has this kind of weird sense of belonging, right? They just assume that she is with someone else.
Yeah.
So it's like when we tried sneaking into that private pool in Santorini. We just walked in, we pretended that we belonged, nobody questioned us, people just thought that we were allowed to be there.
We were fraudsters.
We just faked it till we made it.
And we did. We made it that day.
We made it. We were high society, man. Everyone was looking at us going, oh man, check them out in their private pool. But we just literally jumped over that fence and we went swimming. So it's like that, right? She's quite literally faking it till she makes it. And I think that's something that at this point she really understands really well. If you act like you're one of them, they'll just assume that you are without even questioning it. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, you don't need to have to provide any identity documents. Let's see your bank statement.
Exactly. Where's your membership card to be in this group? Can you imagine if our little clique, we just had membership cards? Because we forget who's in our group. We forget which 6 people are in there. Who are you? Let's see your membership card.
Do I know you?
Lawrence. Hi, mate. Yeah. I love you so much. Give me a hug. So she gets just really good at seamlessly fitting in herself into the kind of these groups and these parties. A great example of this is when Anna and an acquaintance of hers is at a party and they spot this famous photographer from across the room. And Anna just confidently says, oh yeah, he's a good friend of mine. Let me go say hi and then I'll call you over. So then Anna approaches him and then after a brief chat, she signals over to a friend to come over and they start talking. And later the photographer admits that he had never met Anna in his entire life before that night. She just introduced herself to him, suggesting that they had mutual friends from Purple magazine. And then she introduced him to her acquaintance as one of her oldest best friends in New York. And he just found it amusing because he thought she was just being polite and funny.
Yeah, I guess if you've just met someone, you're not going to correct them like that. You go, excuse me, hang on. I've literally just known you for 5 minutes.
Exactly. And there's the politeness in it, right?
Yeah.
Oh, this is my good friend. And you're trying to bond with that person by saying, oh, this is my good oldest friend from New York.
You just go along with it, yeah.
Yeah. And what's the frame of reference here, right? You could have been in New York for 40 minutes and it's the first person you met. So technically it could be true, no?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, I think she's just being polite and charismatic in this setting.
Yeah, it doesn't sound like she's being malicious or anything.
Even already, she's got the makings of a very persuasive, confident person who's probably primed to be a little scammer anyway. So Anna is in New York for a few weeks and she decides, ooh, I really like this, and decides that she is going to stay. New York is where it is at. So when she finally tells her parents that she's now leaving Purple magazine to move to New York, of course, they're really pissed off. They supported her when she was in London. That went to pot. Then she moved to Paris. And again, they picked up the tab there too. But now they're annoyed and exhausted with her constant flip-flopping. So this time they agree that, sure, they will support her for a month or 2. But that is it. After that, she needs to find a job to support herself. And she's like, sure, I agree. Gimme, 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 gimme.
So her parents must have some money, or kind of from, not like they're that wealthy, but in a way that to at least fund her abroad living.
They're not billionaires, but they are really comfortable. They don't really have any financial burdens. They can afford to send it to private school, but they're not wealthy.
Yeah, yeah.
And so it's at this point where she pretty much starts telling everyone in New York that she is a German heiress with an $80 million trust fund. And she's very smart to keep things fairly vague when people would press her about it. So her background is very much steeped in mystery, which, based on the circles that she was going around in, didn't seem that strange because it was quite common for people from those types of backgrounds to kind of keep their affairs, especially around money, kind of on the lowdown.
Yeah, keep their cards close to their chest. Although to say 80 million, that's kind of really...
I think that's a moderate amount of money.
Maybe that's a moderate in an upper society.
Possibly.
For me, that's a huge amount.
I've watched a lot of Gossip Girl. And I just get the impression they're worth more than 80 million.
100 million.
Yeah, 82 million. So, like, it was just, like I said, it's quite common for them to keep money affairs on the down low. Like, it was common for rich kids to go to art school and enroll in various internships because their families could afford to support them while they were doing these things. So none of this was unusual. Her story up until this point wasn't unusual. She'd done all these things. Mm-hmm. The only lie was that she was an heiress to $80 million, right? And the thing about Anna was that she worked out how to fit in and look the part without actually having any money at all. What she would do is that she would invest in like the accessories. She would buy like a really expensive pair of Celine sunglasses, and then she would just wear regular plain clothes that were really unrecognizable as a particular brand. She would just like dress all in black, for an example.
Like Primark, but cut the labels out.
Exactly. And then when people would like compliment her on her outfit, she'd be like, thanks, Alexander McQueen. When in reality, it was just probably like from H&M. What's interesting is that in hindsight, people would say that the thing that really gave her away was her hair, because that's not really something that you can really fake.
Yeah, why did she not get that sorted? Get a wig.
I think people say that all the time, though. Like in hindsight, they go, yeah, I knew the whole time. You didn't know, Brenda. You didn't know. I wasn't that gay.
Who's Brenda?
She's out of my life. Also, like when she was out and about, she would often like tip ridiculous amounts of money to service workers, which just helped her solidify that illusion that she was from money. So nobody ever questioned her, ever. So very soon after arriving in New York, her parents' money runs out and she needs to start supporting herself. And this is where her scam really starts, because she is moving around in these high society circles, right? And she's told everyone that she has this $80 million trust fund. So it's not like she can actually go and just get a job at Olive Garden, because they'll be like, aren't you like
an
a trust fund baby? Yeah, exactly. So she sets her sights on the big prize, right? She wants to start a really exclusive members-only club. The only one that I can really think of that is the equivalent that comes to mind is like maybe Soho House.
So this is what I was thinking about, the whole membership exclusivity thing.
Yeah.
So she creates this, and that way get all the exclusive people in there.
Exactly. It was intended to focus on art and luxury, and it would house like restaurants and bars. It would also have like a German bakery, like as a nod to her German heritage, but also have lots of working spaces, and also it'd be a hotel as well. And the purpose of the club was to give back to the community by allowing young up-and-coming artists to showcase their work and provide them with a leg up.
Give back to the community, but it's an exclusive club that she's going to get people that probably have some kind of wealth already to give them a leg up.
Pause work. We are really niche with the artwork that we have. It's pause work. If you're poor, this is the wing for you. If you want to own something from the pause, yeah, this is it. Come this way. Come on.
How novel.
Yeah, exactly. And then hopefully if someone buys one, then they get the money, they get the kickback, and then they can get a leg up in terms of the artwork. Because the art world is very much a rich man's game, right?
Yeah, with you.
And this club was to be called the Anna Delvey Foundation. Nice. Arrogant much, right?
Yeah, after your own self-worth.
It kind of reminds me of the Center of Kids Who Can't Read Good from Zoolander. The Anna Delvey Foundation.
Yeah.
So she is scouting around for locations around New York for her new foundation, and she starts eyeing up this building at 281 Park Avenue, and it's an entire 6-story, 45,000 square foot building. And the lease on the building at the time was something ridiculous, like $350,000 a year. So she's literally going big, and she has no money. So while she's in New York, she makes friends with this super rich kid, and he's the collector and founder of a company called Beijing's M. Woods Museum. And Anna suggests to him that maybe they should go to the Visual Arts Exposition in Venice somewhere. And he's all up for it, and he's super excited. But when it comes to booking the hotels and the tickets, Anna says that she's really terrible with the details and asks if he can just go ahead and book everything, and she'll just give him the money later on, right?
Will she send him a wire?
She'll send him a wire later. And of course, like he's like, sure, no problem. So they go for 2 weeks, and everything was on him. And when they return back to New York, she just never pays him. And later, when they interview him about this, he just said, look, it wasn't really that much money to me. Like, I'm rich as F, man. Like, $8,000 is nothing. And he just figured that she forgot. And when you're rich like these people are, it just isn't a big deal.
Just spare change.
Exactly. And this is how she was able to get away with this for so long.
Wow, to have $8,000 spare change.
Yeah.
One day.
One day, man. So, like, I guess that rich people don't really see money in the same way that us poors do. So he was just like, yeah, okay, whatever. So Anna, she's staying with various friends. She's taking advantage of the fact that they are filthy rich and they wouldn't think twice about spending a few grand here or there. But Anna understands that she can't keep doing this forever. So she tries check kiting.
Check kiting? What is that?
Well, we covered it last episode. This is what Cassie Chadwick was doing for a long time. So basically, it's when you write a bunch of bad checks from one account, deposit it into another account, and then in the time between the check being deposited and clearing, you withdraw that money because they give you the benefit of the doubt that the check's going to clear, right?
Yeah.
So she would do things like writing checks for $5,000 at a time. Then she would spend some of that money, but then take the money and put it into another account she'd written other checks for to cover that, and so on, hoping that it kind of never catches up on her.
Mm-hmm.
So when she had exhausted all of her friends' generosity in letting her stay at their houses, she decides that she's going to check herself into a fancy hotel. Because, of course, she's done all this check kiting. She has a little bit of money. But the thing is, to check into a fancy hotel, you kind of need to put a credit card on file. So to get around this, she tells them that, obviously, she's this German millionaire and her money is in this German account, and says to them, I'll send you a wire. And they buy it. They're like, sure thing, Mrs. Delvey. Yeah, like, here's your room. Check in. We'll wait for the bank transfer. And the thing is about these fancy hotels is that you can just charge everything to your room. So she'll only ever eat at the hotel restaurants. She'll only ever drink at the hotel's bar. And when she entertains her friends, it's always at the hotel, because anywhere else, she wouldn't be able to foot the bill, right?
Yeah.
Because, of course, the girl is broke as fuck.
Like, the nerve of her. I don't think I could ever do that, because I struggle at the best of times in keeping up a lie. So the fact that she's doing this, or to get all this food and not feel guilty or anything, or looking over her shoulder, she's constantly keeping this act up to go, yeah, I belong here.
That's true.
I deserve this.
And you are terrible at lying, because I got you a really nice fake Rolex watch from Hong Kong, and every time you wear it, people always compliment you on how beautiful the watch is. And you go, it's fake!
Yeah, I can't uphold the lie. I look at it and go, like, I'm a fraud.
It's true, you are a fraud. But you don't need to tell people. Just take the compliments and say thank you.
Yeah, but then they'll start digging. It's like, how do you get that? And then, like, I start sweating. My butt is clammy. I just can't deal with it.
So she does have a little bit of money because she's been check kiting. So she's dropping like $100 tips and ordering 200 bottles of wine with cash that she's obviously sourced from this check kiting. And it's this that props up this illusion that she's actually rich. And when the hotel starts chasing her for money, she'll either cover it by check kiting, or she'll just check out of the hotel and disappear to somewhere else.
But, like, there's security. Surely they not report this to the police if she just goes disappearing and doesn't pay her bill.
Well, at this point in time, that hasn't caught up on her.
Okay.
But I think this is a great time to take a quick break. And when we get back, I'll tell you a bit more about how Anna is planning on making her foundation a reality.
Ooh.
So, Adam. So Anna starts getting really serious about the Anna Delvey Foundation, the Center for Kids Who Can't Read Good. And through her connections that she's made in New York up to this point, she is introduced to some really important finance managers and brokers, one of which she hires. And basically, they are going to help her secure a loan to make the Anna Foundation, of course, a reality. Now, they're doing all of this on the premise that she is, in fact, a billionaire heiress with a huge trust fund coming her way. But she tells them that she doesn't want to rely on her parents for help. She wants to do this all on her own. And that's why she's going to them to try and secure those finances rather than just dipping into a trust fund, right?
Okay, that sounds noble, but...
Sounds noble, yeah. So again, through her connections, she gets a marketing company to pull together this really impressive marketing presentation that helps her bring the entire vision and plan for the foundation to life. And this will be used to impress the banks and hopefully help try and secure that loan when these finance brokers are going around trying to kind of secure this money. She pays like $20,000 for this marketing presentation, which when they invoice her, surprise, surprise, she never actually pays them, ever. And they end up chasing her for months and months. Eventually, they just give up.
That's surprising because I remember being at the last place I worked. If people didn't make us or didn't pay us the money that we were owed after a certain period of time, we would take legal action.
Yeah, sure. And I do question whether or not in New York, where everything is bigger, whether or not $20,000 is just small change and they have to write that off.
Maybe.
It depends how big that is relative to other things that you're working on. Is it worth your time?
Yeah, I guess if they've got bigger debts, they're going to focus on those.
But I mean, £20,000 to us is a lot of money, man. That's a lot of wine. So her brokers are going to go around with this very expensive presentation about the foundation, and they're meeting with all these huge banks around the city. Meanwhile, Anna is having dealings with architects and various businesses and personalities that she wants to be involved in the foundation to some degree. So she's hosting these expensive lunches and dinners at the hotel, of course, charging everything to her room. One of the chefs that she tries to secure is a guy called Daniel Rose. He co-opened Le Cuco in 2016. He actually runs the restaurant at the hotel that she's currently staying at. And he is all in. He is super excited by the invitation to open up a restaurant in her foundation club. So people are on board, man. And they see this very serious rich girl who seems to just be throwing millions and millions of dollars into this foundation to set up this cool club. And people are just turned on by the idea. It's actually a really good idea. The problem is she just doesn't have the money.
She's a fraud.
Is she a fraud, though? Or is she just faking it so she makes it? Like, remember,
True.
She's making moves to secure the money.
Yeah, and I guess the end goal is if you get that money, you open the foundation, you then have money, and then you pay back some of this debt or whatever, and then you've made it, yeah.
Exactly. So she gets really far down this road, probably to the point where she's like, you know what? I think I can actually do this. I can do this. All she needs is the $25 million loan from the bank, which the finance brokers are currently working on. So a couple of banks do actually turn her down, but eventually one bank is like, yeah, we'll give you $25 million.
You seem good for it.
Yeah.
Based on what you've just said and no other evidence.
Exactly. Just give us, though, $100,000 so we can look into your claims that you are, in fact, due to inherit $80 million.
Ooh.
And if all of that checks out, we'll give you the cash, baby. So
I have a feeling, knowing her so far, that she probably can get the 100,000 somehow. But how she proves she has 80 million, I don't know how she's going to do that.
So somehow, after obviously check kiting, she manages to convince another bank to loan her $100,000.
There we go.
So she's got that. So she gives that money to the bank, who now want to obviously run their checks, and they start processing in the background to look into her. She's so close at this point, like she's literally burping up money. So what she's thinking is that she will just pay back the $100,000 loan when she gets the $25 million loan from the big bank.
Well, that makes sense, yeah.
Yeah, so that's how she's going to cover all those and all her other little debts that she's racked up over the time as well. So the big bank wants to start speaking to a bunch of people that she's connected to in Germany. In particular, they want to connect with her money manager.
Okay.
So she gives them the number, they call it, someone answers, they talk to them, and they want statements from the family's trust. Anna sends them over. Everything looks legit, and they're ready to give her the money.
So I'm guessing then the man or the person that they've just called is an actor of some kind, and the statements that she gives them must be photoshopped.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
Yeah.
Fine. So it seems quite easy, actually. Maybe we can do it.
But then someone at the bank pipes up and says, maybe we should do just one last check on this girl. I think we should actually go to Germany to meet the family's accountant to verify in person that this isn't just some random girl and that she's actually good for the money. After all, that is what the $100,000 is for them to go on a free trip to Germany, first class. That's what it's for.
Trust someone and their due diligence.
Yeah, exactly.
But quite sensible.
So when Anna finds out about this, that they're planning on visiting Germany, she immediately calls off the entire loan. She's like, no, I'm just going to ask my dad for the money now. Fuck doing it by myself. It's too hard. It's too hard. And they're like, oh, okay, that's fine.
And they keep the $100,000?
No, so up until now, they'd spent about $40,000
right.
of the $100K. So they give her back $60K.
Uh-huh.
And, oh man, can you imagine just how devastated she must feel at this point? Like, she got this far.
Yeah.
And then it was like, oh, now they actually want to go to Germany. How am I going to fake that? So she immediately withdraws the remaining $60,000 and she just starts spending, man.
Not paying back any of the debts.
So the first thing she does is settle up her $30,000 bill at the hotel that she's staying at. But what's really funny is that up until this point, they've been constantly threatening to kick her out. But she's like, oh, why are you the money? But of course, the money never came. But when she pays it back, she's like, see, I told you I had money.
Yeah, 6 months later.
Yeah. So if you've ever watched the Netflix drama Inventing Anna, then this is roughly where the story picks up from. Now, let me introduce you to a couple of people who are going to be very important to Anna's story. First, we meet the concierge at the hotel, and that is a girl called Nefertari Davis. I believe that's how you pronounce it. I might have butchered that, but people just call her Nef for short.
Okay.
And she and Anna become really good friends while Anna was staying at the hotel.
Yeah, that's right.
And she says that it was at this point that Anna starts spending crazy money. She's constantly dropping $100 tips, so much so that other hotel staff would literally fight to make deliveries to her room because they knew that every time they went up there, they were guaranteed to get a $100 tip.
Wow.
So then we meet another prominent character. Her name is Casey Duke, who is actually a personal trainer to the stars. And her fame got a bit of a boost when it came out that she was the personal trainer to Dakota Johnson, who at the time was starring in a little show called 50 Shades of Grey. Mm-hmm. And like everyone was like, wanted her as their personal trainer. Like, I want their body.
Right, okay.
So Anna is like, ooh, I need to get me some of that. So she hires Casey and they end up becoming minor acquaintances who hang out occasionally. Then finally, we meet a woman called Rachel Williams. Rachel was a photo editor at Vanity Fair, and she and Anna met through a circle of mutual friends. Like, Rachel was really attracted to other ambitious women, a bit like Anna, in a way. But I think Rachel comes across as a bit more desperate in her vibe, whereas Anna comes across a lot more confident. So Rachel was immediately struck by what Anna wanted to achieve with her foundation. She found her quite admirable and interesting and exciting, and the fact that obviously she was really rich as F. So like Rachel, she's not like super rich or part of high society, but her job does mean that she is fairly well connected. So it's a bit of a friendship of benefit for both Anna and Rachel. For example, it will mean that because of Rachel's job, she can introduce Anna to certain connected people, and Rachel
gets nice dinners.
And Rachel gets nice dinners, yeah. And so these four girls, including Anna, they would often just hang out. Of course, Anna has this $30,000, so very often she's footing the bill. And their friendship just kind of solidifies itself around the fact that Anna would often take Neff and Rachel to private sessions with Casey, the personal trainer. Mm-hmm. And eventually they're all going off to have expensive facials together, dinners out. And through Rachel, they managed to get access to some exclusive parties in and around New York. And like to all of the girls, it's very fun hanging out with Anna because she's giving them a taste of what it's like to be part of upper society. Mm-hmm. And so there's no reason for any of them to not believe that Anna is the real deal. Their perception is their reality. They see the money and they think that Anna is filthy rich.
Yeah, if she's paying for their beauty treatments and all these things and she's footing the bill, why would they think otherwise, right?
Exactly. So remember, Anna is spending all of her free time with these three pretty regular people, not the usual high society folk.
Oh, yeah, that's right, yeah.
So remember, Anna up until now never wasted any time with anyone who wouldn't benefit her in some way, either status, money, or connections. She always seemed to gravitate towards the most impressive person in the room. So like, what's the deal? Why is she all of a sudden just hanging out with these chumps?
Yeah, chumps. Has she burnt the bridges then with a lot of these people because she has borrowed money and they're like, we don't get anything in return?
So you think like the cracks are starting to form within those friendships?
Yeah, if people are more like sponges and stuff and not adding anything to the relationship, people probably just, let's not bother inviting Anna anymore.
That's it. It's a very good assessment. So actually a lot of her high society friends were starting to write her off as a bit weird. Like they would always be like, what's the new girl's deal?
Yeah, where's she actually from?
Yeah.
That stupid accent.
Rude. And then over time, they just started to distance themselves from her. When it comes to Casey, Rachel, and Neff, I genuinely think that hanging out with them was probably just a little bit of a relief at times. Like you get to relax, you get to put your guard down, you don't have to keep performing. So she probably didn't have to work as hard or be anxious about what her next move was going to be. So I don't know. Anna was a poor girl struggling to keep up in a rich person's world, and I guess that must be quite stressful at times. So remember, Anna is not from the US, so this means that every 6 months, she needs to renew her visa by leaving the country before then coming back in. So it's coming up to that time of year again, so she starts talking to Casey and Rachel and Nerf about possibly turning this into a fun trip for the four of them. Everything will, of course, be on Anna. Rachel loves this idea because she really thrives on being around Anna. She loves the money, she loves the status a lot. And Casey is game too, but sadly, Neff can't make it because, of course, she has a job that she needs to do, right? Otherwise, she can't afford rent in New York. Around about the same time, Anna is starting to have conversations amongst her friends about wanting to make a documentary about the Anna Delvey Foundation. And it just so happens that Rachel introduces her to a filmmaker friend of hers called Jesse. And so Anna also invites Jesse onto this little trip of theirs.
Right.
And he's going to document the meetings around setting up the foundation and the plans that she's making.
So she's still pursuing this goal of the Anna Foundation, but she doesn't sound like her focus is necessarily on getting the money or proving she has 80 million in order to get that loan.
That's it. I guess the next natural step would be to go back to these brokers and find another bank. Mm-hmm. And that's probably what's happening at this point.
Right.
But again, they might even ask for another $100,000 so they can also check into her. So she's going to have to do some check kiting. But anyway, she's at this point in her journey. So it's this weird little group, Rachel, the personal trainer, Rachel's friend Jesse, and they're all going to go on this little trip. And they decide that they're going to go to Marrakesh. So Anna's keen to stay at one of Marrakesh's most luxurious hotels. I believe it's pronounced La Mamounia, where the suites can go for upwards of $14,000 a night. This is the hotel that royalty and famous people stay when they visit Marrakesh. So we actually drove past this exact hotel when we were making our way into the center of Marrakesh when we were visiting. And it's kind of right on the immediate outskirts of the city near that famous square where the monkeys and the snake charmers are.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
Now, on the day that they're meant to leave, Anna hasn't booked any flights. So initially, they're all a bit worried. They just rationalize this by, this is how rich people operate. They just rock up at the airport and they book a flight right there and then. They don't really look for cheap flights or anything like that. They don't book in advance.
I can believe that.
But as the day goes on, Rachel starts to stress out a little because she hasn't heard anything from Anna. But also, she's getting a lot of pressure from her friend Jesse, who is supposed to be documenting the trip. So he isn't appreciating being messed around. So Rachel calls Anna, and Anna's like, oh, I've been stuck in meetings all day. Can you go ahead and book the flights? Anna sends her credit card details, so Rachel is relieved and goes to book the flights for that night. But Anna's card doesn't work. And Anna's like, oh, I don't know what's happening. I'll call the bank. Anna calls back and says, there seems to be some kind of issue with my bank, but the airline is going to be closing very soon. We need to book those tickets.
She's going to ask Rachel to do it.
Anna doesn't suggest that Rachel book the flights, but she kind of backs her into a corner where Rachel feels like she needs to offer. So Rachel says, why don't I just put it on my card and you can give me the money later on? And Anna is like, great idea.
Yeah, I guess she's kind of got like, oh, what are we going to do?
Well, I don't know what's going to happen.
We literally have no other options, do we, God. Rachel?
Yeah, what should we do? Silence. 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 And then she's like, she'll put on my card.
Great idea.
Wonderful idea. And so from that point on, Rachel is just paying for everything. And remember, after all of this, Rachel actually goes off and writes a book. And in it, she is like, there was no reason for me to not believe that I was friends with a billionaire. She had literally seen her charter an aeroplane. But what Rachel didn't know at the time was that Anna never actually paid the bill on that charter. She just saw her going in, acting like she belonged, acting like she did this all the time, but never actually fit the bill. So they go to Marrakesh. The first couple of days are perfect. They're in this foreign country. It's a different culture, staying in one of the best hotels in the country. Life was literally just bliss. But if you've ever been to Morocco, then you'll know that the shits are just around the corner. We've all been there. Because Casey, the personal trainer, she gets food poisoning and she has to fly home. Which, looking back later on, she says, thank God.
Thank God for food poisoning.
Thank God for food poisoning, because what's going to happen is mental. So at the hotel, they are treated like royalty. They have a private butler. There's a concierge who helps them do anything that they want. So they get booked on all these like really private tours around the souks. They go to see the YSL gardens, the Youssef Laurent gardens. And the whole time, Rachel just left fitting the bill, all at Anna's behest.
How is she doing this? Because if it's $14,000 a night, I'm not saying they were paying that, but it doesn't sound like Rachel's got that much money or that much credit to be putting this down.
Exactly, yeah. So she's using her own personal credit card. And it's just for shopping and when they go out of the hotel. Because when they're in the hotel, everything's being booked to the room, so it's not a problem. But when they're out, it's on Rachel's credit card. At one point, Anna gets $3,000 worth of tailor-made clothing, and Rachel is asked to pay it on her credit card, which is crazy.
Bit awkward.
And again, Anna just stresses like, when my card is fixed, I'll give it back to you. And Rachel's like, okay.
Okay, sure. I'd still be a bit like, when's that going to be?
So when I say they go on a few outings, Anna is super reluctant to go out. She just wants to hang back at the hotel. Because remember, everything is charged to her room. But it's the other girls that kind of persuade her to kind of like, let's go on an outing. We're in another country. Let's do it. So one night they come back after dinner and the hotel manager is in their room and they're not happy. So these guys want a credit card on file. Rachel says in that moment, Anna was just acting really dismissive and annoyed towards them. And she just said like, look, there must be a problem with my card. Let me call my bank. And then when she gets back, she just says like, my bank will fix it and it'll all be sorted in the morning. So she's trying to kind of like fight them off, but they're not going anywhere. And they demand a card be placed on file right now. And Anna acts just odd. She just apparently sits down on the sofa and she just stares blankly into space. So the situation is really uncomfortable for everyone in that room. Like she's just pretending like the men aren't even in the room. And they're just standing there with their arms crossed. They're like, lady, we need this credit card.
That is really bizarre behavior, but someone that probably is just slightly unstable.
Yeah, that's it. So eventually management say they're going to call the police and suggest that Rachel just give them a card until Anna's accounts are sorted in the morning because they're not willing to wait. And they reassure her that they won't charge the card at all. They're just going to put a hold on the balance until they get Anna's card in the morning.
Right.
And so Rachel hands over her own personal credit card, but there's not enough money on that particular card to place a hold on it because there's a limit.
Yeah, I can say $10,000, if not more, if it's several nights.
Yeah. So she hands over her Vanity Fair work credit card that's only meant to be used for work expenses only. So the next day, Rachel is organized to actually fly from Marrakesh to France to meet up with some friends for a couple of days, right? So she's actually leaving Anna at this point. Before she flies out, she gets reassurance from Anna that she will pay back the money and will replace the card on file with her own card once it gets sorted by the bank.
Mm-hmm.
So now it's just Anna and Jesse, the guy who's supposed to be there to document her for her film about the Anna Delvey Foundation. He was expecting to shoot some serious footage, but all Anna wanted to do all day was just get him to take Instagram photos of her. By the poolside.
Yeah, imagine if I was him, I'd be like, is there really a foundation? What actually is your plan here?
Yeah, eventually, like literally, he is like, I don't think this girl's got any money. So he just went and booked his own flight home and he left. So Anna was alone in Marrakesh with no money and still no card on file.
And is Rachel due to fly back via Marrakesh? Do we know?
No, she's just going to meet her in the States.
Ah, okay.
That's it, yeah. So a few days later, Rachel sees that the hotel has charged her personal credit card for the hotel stay, and it's a total of $65,000. And Rachel is freaking out. She believes that she's going to get fired because that card is explicitly for work purposes only. And now they've charged $65,000 to that card. So she's, of course, frantically just trying to call Anna on the phone.
Yeah, it's like, you owe me, bitch.
I'd be fuming.
Yeah, you'd be like, my job's gone, that's it. You'd like, how am I going to get this money?
Anna's completely blasé about the whole thing. She tells her like, no worries. I don't know why they've charged you. It must have been a mix-up. I'm on the phone with my parents now. The money will be wired to you any minute now. And it just never arrives. Rachel is calling and calling. And Anna just reels off excuse after excuse. When Rachel calls Casey, she says that Anna actually called her from Marrakesh, crying, saying that there was a mix-up with her bank and she begged Casey to book her a ticket home and that she would pay her back in a few days. And Casey's like, yeah, babe, that's not my problem. But eventually, Casey agrees and Anna's like, by the way, can you book first class? The audacity!
Yeah, it's like, thanks for helping me out, but just make sure it's first class though. Yeah, I couldn't bear being in coach.
And so after Rachel speaks to Casey, Casey tells her that she still hasn't paid her back for that flight.
Yeah, this is not looking good, is it, for those girls?
It's not. She still doesn't think this is a scam. She just rationalizes all by like believing that maybe her parents have just cut her off financially, or that they give her an allowance and that she's gone over that allowance. She needs to wait till the next month to get like the next payment for that. But Rachel, I swear to God, she is dumb as bricks. She's just still convinced that she is a billionaire. She's just refusing to believe it.
Wake up, Rachel.
Meanwhile, she has to borrow money from family and friends just to make the minimum payments on her work credit card. Otherwise, she's going to get fired if they find out. And she just starts slowly tracking down other people who have their own Anna stories. And finally, this is where Rachel is like, okay, Anna's a scammer.
Wow.
So I feel like this is a perfect moment to take a short break. And when we return, I'll tell you about how this entire thing started to unravel. So Adam, meanwhile, things are not going great for Anna. She's spent all of the $30,000 that she had left from the brokers. When she gets back to New York, she shows up at the hotel that she's been staying at, and Neff is like, what the hell are you doing here? They've locked up all of your stuff in storage and they've kicked you out because you owe them $50,000. If I don't tell them that you're here, I'm going to get in trouble. So Anna goes to another hotel for a few days, but at that point, all the hotels in the city are all on strict Anna watch because the hotel had sent out an alert to be on guard for Anna.
This fake German.
This German redhead, yeah. So the hotel kicks her out. That night, she turns up at Casey's house. She's in a flood of tears and is begging to stay because her parents are, as she claims, withholding money from her to punish her for not wanting to come home back to Germany. Mm-hmm. And so her credit access has just been completely cut off. Cassie feels guilty. She says, like, you can stay, but only for one night. Mm-hmm. So the morning comes. Casey is like, okay, time to leave. Bye.
Get out.
And Anna deliberately leaves her laptop there, knowing that she then has a reason to come back.
Sneaky.
Casey sees right through this move, and she goes down to the lobby, leaves it with a doorman, and tells her that when Anna comes back, just to say that she is not here, that she's gone out. Later, the doorman calls her and says that Anna did come back to pick up the laptop. He told her, obviously, that Casey was out. And so Anna just waited in the foyer for 8 hours waiting for Casey to come back because she had nowhere else to go.
Oh no, I almost feel a bit sorry for her now.
I feel really bad for her.
Even though she's a big scammer.
I mean, you got to admire the hustle.
Yeah.
I don't mind trying to defraud a bank out of millions and millions and millions of dollars, but when you are defrauding your friend, even though Rachel to me seems a little bit insufferable, I still feel bad for her.
Yeah, she didn't go into this wanting to be, I think, well, she wanted to socialize with someone that had money, but she didn't want to harm anyone.
She wanted to socialize with someone who actually had money. So I feel sorry for her for not getting what she wanted.
That's true.
So Anna is just fed up with all the relentless hounding from Rachel and is actively trying to avoid her calls at this point. So Rachel gets Casey to reach out to Anna and to arrange a lunch, right? Because it's the only way that she can connect with her now. And when she arrives, Rachel will be there to ask her, like, tell us, what's the truth? Have your parents really cut you off? What happened to your money? When are you going to pay me back? This is an intervention. So during this lunch, Anna just skits around the truth. The conversation just ends up going nowhere. And Rachel's just at the end of her tether, she's literally living in fear every day that she is going to get fired if Vanity Fair bosses find out about, obviously, the credit card. But Anna doesn't care. And so Rachel says that she's going to take this further and she's going to consult a lawyer. Again, Anna just dismisses it. She just doesn't give a shit. At this point, nobody knows where she's staying either. The last I heard was that she just waited in the lobby at Cassie's apartment for 8 hours and then just disappeared. They assume that she's just checked into another hotel, but the truth was that she was hiring cars and just sleeping in them because she'd essentially been blacklisted from all the hotels in New York City.
How the mighty have fallen.
So she can't charge anything to her room anymore. So she's just eating at restaurants and just leaving without paying the bill. And this ends up catching up with her because eventually, a few days later, after her little intervention with Casey and Rachel, she's arrested for trying to run out on paying a restaurant bill. Like, bitch, just go to Taco Bell. You don't have to go to a fancy restaurant.
I bet that doesn't even cross her mind. I reckon she always...
It should. Bitch, you're broke.
I think she's just probably living that delusion. That's her life. She would never want to, I don't know, go somewhere cheap.
Yeah.
Finally catches up with her.
Mm-hmm. So the New York Post hears about this and they write a story about it. The German heiress caught trying to get out of paying her restaurant bill. So Rachel sees the story and she's like, okay, I have to take action. So she finally goes to the police and the police are like, oh yeah, actually, we probably should look into this girl because it's not just restaurant bills. It turns out there's this whole thing with $25 million and hundreds of thousands of dollars of check kiting. So we should probably look into her.
And all the hotels and everything else.
All of it, yeah. But Anna is gone. She's actually left New York City and nobody knows where. And I guess she's just mortified by the story leaking in the Post.
Everyone knows now.
So what's a rich girl to do? Check into rehab.
Oh, okay. How'd she pay for that? Oh, she doesn't, obviously.
Maybe she doesn't have to pay until she has to check out.
Right.
It's the same old, right? New city, no one knows who she is. She can walk the walk, talk the talk. She'll be fine.
Yeah.
So the police convince Rachel to try and contact her to find out where she is so that she can be arrested by the police. But of course, Rachel has long burnt that bridge. But police are like, well, if you want to stand any chance of getting your money back, then we kind of need your help because we've been tipped off that she might be trying to go back to Germany. So if you want to get your money back...
Last chance.
This is your last chance. Rachel starts messaging her with messages like, I'm really concerned about you. Nobody's seen you for ages. I'm not angry.
Yes, I am.
Yeah, I'm not angry anymore. I just want to make sure you're okay, right? She doesn't hear anything for a few weeks, but eventually Anna starts to reply. And this is where Anna tells Rachel that she's really sick and that she's checked herself into rehab. And it's actually one of the most exclusive rehab centers in the world.
Of course.
This is where celebrities and rich kids go. And it's called Passengers in Los Angeles.
Right.
So now Rachel knows where she is. She tells the cops and they're like, go get her, boys. And the police are like, yeah, about that. We can't really arrest someone who's in rehab. You kind of need a warrant for that. And there's a lot of hurdles to jump through. How about instead, you lure her out, and then when she comes out, we'll then pounce on her. So Rachel's like, for fuck's sake.
I don't know, I feel a bit like, what do you guys do? We're really busy as they're I don't know, playing computer games.
It just so happens that Rachel is going to Los Angeles for work. So she messages Anna and says, can we meet for lunch? I'm in town for a few days. Let's start rebuilding our friendship. And Anna is like, sure, let's do it. Oh, by the way, I haven't had a drink in so long and I'm so desperate for booze. So when you come, can you bring a bunch of empty Voss water bottles and fill them up with vodka? See you soon. And
the nerve.
And Rachel's like, yeah, and I'm not going to do that. Sorry.
Yeah.
So Rachel arrives in LA and it's the day of the lunch. Anna is allowed to leave for the day. And the second she sets foot outside of the rehab center, the police officers just arrest her.
Jump her, girls.
They pounce on her. And I could just imagine that moment in slow motion where Anna realizes what's going on and she tries to make a run for it back into the rehab. No! So poor Anna, she's got set up. So she's had a taste of her own medicine.
Yeah.
And it is bitter. She's flown back to New York and she's sent to Rikers Island, which is a pretty big prison in New York. So she's brought up on charges of grand larceny, theft of services, and defrauding hotels and various acquaintances. So it's pretty serious. She's been busted.
How is she going to get herself out of this? Or does she?
Well, it's actually at this point that this is where the story completely blows up. She becomes this international sensation because first Rachel decides that if she is going to get fucked by Anna, then she's going to capitalize on it. And so she writes a story about everything that's happened for an article for Vanity Fair. She is capitalizing on it, right? Neff is then contacted by a journalist from New York Magazine called Jessica Pressler. And through Neff, she then writes this huge expose on Anna. And this story takes the story to a whole new level of virality. And so as a result, people become completely obsessed with the story. And it's actually Jessica Pressler's article through Neff that the Netflix series Inventing Anna is actually based on.
Wow.
So Anna then goes to trial, which is going to be filmed every single day. And to make sure that she looks incredible, she recruits a stylist who is willing to do it all for exposure. So it's kind of that classic thing, I'll pay you with exposure.
Yeah,
because I'm really high profile.
That's crazy. But did Anna seek that person out, or did the designer, whatever, get in touch?
Anna probably had like a hand in it.
Don't want to look poor in some orange scrubs or whatever, or uniform.
So she wants to look amazing. So as the trial progresses, people start wearing T-shirts around New York saying things like German heiress or my other T-shirt will wire you $60,000. People are completely obsessed with it. Eventually, Anna is offered a plea deal with 3 to 9 years if she agrees to go back to Germany and serve her sentence there. But she rejects this. She opts for a more harsher sentence of 12 years because the bitch knows that being in prison in the US is far better for her commercially, where she's now famous. So she's smart. What's interesting is that in her defense, her lawyers try to argue that Anna is quintessentially an example of someone chasing the American dream.
What?
Yeah. So she's come to the US to make it big. And in order to do that, she has to fake it till she makes it. And so to punish her for that goes against everything that is American.
Don't tell me that actually people bought that.
Well, people start looking at her as this inspirational figure in modernity.
But she conned people.
She did. I get it.
But she was trying to be a good person.
She did it in an American way.
Yeah, jeez.
But of course, the jury were like, lol, no.
Oh, thanks, God.
And she is found guilty of grand larceny and she's sentenced to a minimum of 5 years. So in February of 2021, the bitch is released after spending just 3 years in jail. And so the months following her release in March 2021, immigration get hold of her for overstaying the visa, obviously. And so she was sent back to jail until October 2022, where she's finally released on bail of $10,000. And now she's under house arrest in her New York apartment. She's trapped there. She can't leave.
In her New York apartment?
Yep, she's staying, I think, somewhere like Soho or Tribeca or somewhere like that.
That's pretty central.
Yeah.
How is she affording
that? She must be getting some money, I don't know, from somewhere, licensing deals or like she's famous.
Did she ever get any money from like Netflix?
Well, she's not allowed to earn any money from the Netflix deal, but there are rumors that there's ways around it of funneling money to her. Maybe not directly, but maybe via a proxy or some kind.
Okay. She probably knows people that know how to do that for her.
Yeah, of course she does.
Yeah.
As rich people know things that portals don't.
She's not rich. We've established.
That's true. But she's connected to that world.
Yeah, fair.
Since then, everyone wants a piece of her. As you know, Netflix released that miniseries based on Jessica Presler's piece in the New York Magazine, where Anna is played by the incredible Julia Garner. And the show is just iconic. From that show, what are the things that stand out the most to you?
It is probably just when she goes, I'll send you a wah.
Is that the only thing that stands out to you?
Yeah.
I mean, it is an iconic scene. It's the accent for me.
Yeah.
So now Anna is just released. She's chilling in her apartment under house arrest. She has her own podcast called The Anna Delvey Show, not Foundation.
Well, no, hang on. How did she get that equipment and stuff like that? It's just, I guess this is how she's connected because she's not allowed outside house arrest, right? At all.
But I mean, there's Amazon. You're forgetting that exists.
Yeah, okay, fair point.
And the podcast. So yeah, the Anna Delvey Show covers a bunch of different topics from crime, adversity, and societal norms. She brings on various guests who are typically local to New York or to the area. Like the most recent one that I listened to was some woman in a band, and they talked about her music and her influences and stuff.
Does she make it about herself?
Not really.
Oh.
No.
Does she bring on people that she scammed? That would be good.
That would be good. Bring on Rachel.
Yeah, so how much do I owe you? Yeah, you're not going to get that.
Yeah. Listen, Rachel, let's just tally up everything that I owe you, all right? So how much was the hotel room? Yeah. 10,000 plus 40,000 plus 18,000. Press enter. What's money amongst friends?
Yeah, I let you on my show.
Yeah. Yeah, so she's doing a podcast. And the thing is, though, even up until this point, Anna is completely unapologetic about what she's done. And in fact, she's really starting to lean into this as well. And of course, she has her Instagram account, which is just absolute comedy gold. It is completely obvious that she is one of the most delusional people you will have ever met in your life. If you get a chance, take a look at it.
I'm just looking at it now. She's got 1.1 million followers.
Yeah, she's serious, man.
She doesn't have the blue tick, though. I don't know if she's not allowed that.
No, she can't afford the $8.99. So she started selling these really hideous, clearly GCSE level sketches, which you can see on her Instagram. Adam, they are terrible. And they are selling for $25,000 each.
This is how she's funding her podcast.
That is. And one of them is a sketch of her in court. And it's a real bad sketch. And the caption reads, "The trial is the new sex tape."
Amazing. I was just looking at one now, and she is outside a Department of Corrections van. She's in like this nice dress by the looks of things. It says "No regrets," and then there's a little arrow going Gucci to her dress.
God. Oh my God. There's also this montage of all these B-list celebrities like Paris Hilton and Lindsay Lohan at their trials. So she is elevating herself up to their level because they've all had famous trials, right?
Yeah.
And then she's like splashed in the middle of it all. So she's just completely delusional. Also, she posts this trailer for Billions. Do you remember that show Billions?
Oh, yeah.
With, what's his name? Bobby Axelrod.
Uh-huh.
And he's that kind of ginger guy with the freckles, and he's kind of this real kind of Jason Heavens kind of style of CEO, like really play hard, work hard, ruthless, etc. So she posts that trailer and she puts the caption, "Looks like they already made a TV series about me." Like, Bobby Axel is the version of me, she says. I'm like, this girl is absolutely delusional.
Yeah. Yeah. She's leaning into it. She's making the most out of this now because she has got this notoriety. She can make money from it.
Yeah, why not?
Go her, because
I don't think she's going to make that much money out of it.
Well, I guess whatever money she does make, she probably has to pay back people. That's probably the deal, right?
Yeah. I think her story is more fascinating than her personality. Because when you go on that Instagram and you see some of the things that she's trying to do, she's clearly trying to be this larger-than-life personality. And to me, it just doesn't connect. But her story's crazy. And I think she can probably continue to ride that way for a while, but her personality isn't anything to go by, in my opinion.
Yeah, and she's not going to be able to fraud anyone now, is she?
Yeah, she's too well recognized, right?
So she's going to have to rely on this story to keep going back and stuff.
Yeah. Neff. So she's actually gone on to be a consultant for the Netflix TV series, obviously Inventing Anna. And Rachel, she eventually gets a $300,000 book deal to flesh out that article she wrote into an actual book as well, called My Friend Anna. And apparently it's going to be turned into an HBO TV series as well. But yeah, Adam, that is the story of Anna Delvey.
Yeah, wow. That was good to revisit that because I've forgotten quite a lot about how it went down. Aside from obviously she committed fraud and things, but yeah, she had some nerve. She managed to hold out for some years by the sounds of things.
She did, yeah.
And to be able to do that is commendable, but at least she got what she deserved in the end.
Yeah, and the thing is though, like when we watched the TV series, it didn't really go into too much of her past and her background. So it was nice to fill in those gaps to see how she got to that moment in time where she met Neff, Rachel, and Casey.
Yeah.
But yeah, that is part 2 of our scammer series, if you will. I hear that maybe we might be adding another one to that list.
We've got another lady scammer coming along. Yeah, did we touch on it last time?
We did, but you gave us a clue. Your clue was roll neck sweaters, which made me just think of like Steve Jobs.
Okay. Well, that's good. And then my next clue to that will be a really deep voice.
I know who we're covering. Are we covering Elizabeth Holmes?
We will be, yes.
Yes.
So, not quite sure when it'll be going out, but it will be soon.
Okay, I can't wait for that. That'll be good, and that will complete our trilogy on female scammers.
Yes.
Should we run the outro on this week's episode?
Let's do it.
So that is another episode of the Compendium podcast in the bag. If you've enjoyed today's episode, then be sure to hit that follow button right in the app that you're listening to us in right now. It really helps us more than we can articulate. You can also schedule new episodes to download automatically. Leave us a little review because your feedback really helps us get better. Don't forget that we release every Tuesday, and until then, remember, a true heiress needs more than a convincing backstory and a bold attitude. See you next time.
See ya.